Well, good day, viewers. Today we have a 2014 Chevy Silverado 1500 4x4. I did some brake work on it a few weeks ago, and the customer noted that the service stability ABS light message has been randomly popping up on the dash. He says ever since the brake job. I've scanned it. Let's have a look at the codes. So here's a look at the scan report. In the anti-lock brakes, we have a C0110 pump motor circuit actuator stuck, symptom 61 in history, and a C0299 brake booster large vacuum leak detected in history. So it's hard to say which one is generating that message. I don't think there's freeze frame data associated with these, but I haven't looked. Looking at the code set criteria for the C0110, I'll pull it up. So here's the C0110 troubleshooting information in the Snap-on scan tool. C0110 sets if the vehicle is over 20 kilometers an hour and the brake is not applied, and it initiates a test. Conditions for setting the code: the pump motor continues to rotate briefly after deactivation, creating a feedback voltage. The electronic brake control module sets the C2C if the measured feedback voltage indicates a binding or stalled pump motor. Now, the pump motor is part of the electronic hydraulic unit, and the relay that controls it is integral to the electronic brake control module, which is mounted to the electronic brake control hydraulic unit. According to this, the actions taken when the DTC sets: the ABS indicator turns on, red brake warning light indicator may turn on, electronic stability control indicator turns on, electronic brake control disables the ABS, traction control and electronic stability control and intelligent brake assist, and trailer stability control for the duration of this cycle. So that's C0110. Let's look at C0299. And it was symptom 00. Detects a low vacuum in the brake booster assembly. Now this has a belt-driven vacuum pump on it. We're going to check to make sure that the belt is on. And this is live data from it right now. It's running. So it's hard to say if that's set because of a problem with the vacuum control system. Let's see what it says. Conditions for running. Detects a low vacuum in the brake booster assembly. Brake warning light indicator turns on. It doesn't say it disables the traction control in the ABS, but it says the brake warning light indicator turns on. So I'm assuming that the C0110 is the one that's generating all the messages on the dash. Let's go back into the ABS system and see if it has freeze frame data. Codes menu, display codes and clear codes. That's all. It doesn't give me freeze frame data or failure records like it does for the engine controls. So I have no idea how long these codes have been here. I checked my records and I hadn't scanned it when I did the brake job. I didn't do a network scan because it wasn't required. So the last time I did a network scan on this was probably a year and a half ago. And I didn't look to see if any of these codes were in there. So we're going to do a visual inspection and clear the codes for now. So I've cleared the codes out of the ABS system because I do have a record of it. And I visually looked at the vacuum pump. It has a stretch belt on it, and it's there and running. So let's see if we can see the vacuum in the booster, and apply the brake pedal several times to see if we get a low vacuum warning. Brake pressure sensor. Let me look around and find the data parameters I want. So I found the brake booster vacuum, and it's negative 10 psi. And the supply voltage, it doesn't give me the brake booster vacuum sensor voltage. So I'm going to apply the brake several times No warning messages on the dash. I'm pumping the brake pedal repeatedly. I don't know if that code would set. It's pretty slow to build up vacuum. It might have a weak vacuum pump. I wish GM would specify the actual criteria for setting the code other than just saying it detects low vacuum. How low? It was -10 and now it only is reaching -5, so it might need a vacuum pump. But the other problem is much more significant. The internal pump motor stuck will require or would require replacement of the electric hydraulic unit, which is a huge pain in the ass. So I loaded the VIN number and Identifix, and I did a keyword search for the C0299 code, and some cases suggest the brake pedal being hard. Now, he never mentioned anything about a hard brake pedal, but sometimes these tech tips will give you layman's approaches to checking the vacuum. The vacuum pump should be able to produce at least 25 inches of vacuum at an idle. Well, we can certainly check for that. If the pump is not producing the proper vacuum, check the vacuum hose for restrictions and leaks. If the hose check's okay, replace the vacuum pump. Inspect for engine oil inside the booster. If found, replace it also. I'm going to put a vacuum gauge on the brake booster vacuum pump. So I pulled the brake booster check valve out of the brake booster and I hooked a vacuum gauge to it, and I've got about 11 inches of vacuum. Now the pressure in the scan tool was in PSI, and this is in inches of mercury. So if it is in fact supposed to produce 25 inches of vacuum, that pump is shot. We'll have to have a discussion with him about changing the pump. I'm going to do a couple more keyword searches and look for cases on this. So doing a conversion between inches of mercury and PSI, it's showing it as -5 PSI right now with the vacuum gauge on it running around 10.5 inches of mercury. And that computes, so the pressure sensor is reading the vacuum correctly. I'm going to see if I can find a test procedure for this vacuum pump in the service literature. So I found a TSB on additional brake pedal effort, and it mentions to inspect for this evidence of engine oil in the brake booster vacuum line, and if found, replace everything. Brake booster, vacuum line, vacuum pump, and the master cylinder, believe it or not. I don't see any oil in the line, but I didn't really look that close yet. And it says, while performing the brake system vacuum source test. Well, let's find that test. So here's the troubleshooting chart for C0299, and it mentions that it's a large vacuum leak detected. It basically says the same thing as the snap-on troubleshooter does. EBCM detects a low vacuum in the brake booster assembly, but it doesn't say how low. And it turns on the red brake warning light when that condition is present. Now, he never mentioned that. He mentioned a StabiliTrak light, an ABS light. Doesn't mention anything about doing a mechanical test on the verify the brake booster vacuum system has no damage, leakage, or incorrect installation. Refer to brake assist system diagnosis. So let's go into that hyperlink. Check the engine vacuum source that supplies vacuum to the brake booster. Brake system vacuum source test. With the vehicle in park, engine idling, air conditioning system off, check to see if the engine vacuum reading is within the specified normal engine range. 14 to 20 it says. Well, it's low. is not within the specified range, inspect the engine vacuum hose for the following conditions: loose connection, collapse, deformation, cracks, dry rot. Now, does this for a naturally aspirated engine, or is this with a vacuum pump? It doesn't specify. Well, I think we've got a vacuum pump problem, but I don't think that's the entire condition here. So I'm going to discuss these repairs with the customer and make a second video if we change the vacuum pump.